Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Listen, I'm doing this on my own. I'm trying to do it all,
Well, on the own on a Monday.
All my
Thursday,
yeah.
Whatever day of the week it is.
We got ghosted by our producer Zach today, but that's all right. He's got a real job. Whatever that one. Yeah, sure. So
Never had one. Never will.
August 31st, last day of August. When you start thinking about especially when you get into September, you guys start thinking Breeders' Cup is really almost here. We're in the home stretch. We're going to talk about a lot of races today that will factor into the Breeders' Cup conversation. It's here. The fields are taking shape. There's still some questions to ask. How are we getting to Santa Anita? That's one question that we're trying to figure out. Where are we going to stay? That kind of thing.
Should we open with that?
Should
we put it in the ether and see if someone wants to help us out?
I'm not
do that on this show.
I'm not even talking about. We'll take suggestions, right? I guess so. I'm not sitting here with my hat out trying to beg or anything like that.
And I should have a hat. I should be the one with a hat, by the way.
Because you're bald.
Hair. I'm bald AF. As the kids would say. Yeah, no, it's not.
Look, you are getting a nice glare off the light off your head today too. So it is. It is solid.
Shiny man.
We were looking at it right now. We want to kind of go. I don't know how much you want to divulge.
Oh, it's the whole thing.
Yeah, we kind of want to hit San Francisco Golden Gate before they close down, right?
Let's see our guy Matt Dierman.
Absolutely.
Let's talk. Let's call it what it is. We want to see our guy.
I want to see the ducky ass in him. That's all I want to see.
If he gets us up on the roof in the caller's booth, that feels next level. Do you think three of us can be up there at the same time?
I don't know. We might have to take individual rotations.
You get raised 2, I get raised 5.
Yeah, and then with my weight, they might be like, "Nope, sorry, bro, not gonna happen." But I definitely want to go check it out before it closes down. I definitely want to see Matt in action because we think so much. You know what? I think your mic's been off. All right, we're there now. All right, so yeah, but you're good. Yeah, it's off there too.
Completely off.
All right, yeah. So now Louis back on the show, but they probably heard you a little bit through my mic.
I'm probably screaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, so Golden Gate Fields is on the table. Then renting a car, driving down to.
So
Arcadia.
that was that Monday because they're running on Mondays this fall, which I think is a great idea. And then we'd get down to Santa Anita in time to go to the Turf Rider meetings and do all that stuff.
Do a little bit of the morning stuff.
Yeah.
Let Sherva show us around.
I agree with that. And maybe I'm just saying, throwing it out there, little Jose Contreras, little taco truck during the week. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm all about checking that out too.
Yeah.
So I think when we get down to Santa Anita, I just envision there's going to be a lot of bonus coverage.
Oh yeah.
That's what the beautiful thing about this little recorder is, right? It's so mobile. We can pop up and do a show pretty much anywhere.
No, that's right.
So
look, shout out Jim Gluckson made sure when we saw him at Preakness that we were making a way out there, and not just us.
No, it only
the goat.
Is Dan going to be with you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you guys are pretty much credentialed.
Yeah,
You're
right.
good. Yeah,
So,
that's
we did get that email, Jim. I will get that back to you tomorrow. So.
Oh yeah. Did I have something I had to do for that?
Nope.
Okay, great. All right.
No, you're good.
Louis is basically my secretary when it comes to this stuff too. He just handles it.
Thank you.
So
quite know to do with that information, but here we go.
All right. I'm also a little perturbed because I have a fantasy football draft starting in about 24 minutes.
Yeah.
So not that we're going to try to get this through, but I'm actually kind of hoping I get the draft on the air. So
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the show sheet.
Yeah.
And something that Zach does, you didn't do.
Okay.
You don't have replays, right?
Well, I thought we had a conversation about not doing that stuff anymore.
Got it. That's not what that conversation was.
Okay, well then I missed it.
Okay, that's all right. Let's talk about those races.
Let's talk about the races.
Yeah. So we get Arcangelo winning the Travers. That's obviously the story of the weekend
100%.
as far as the results of the races, right?
Because Jenna puts herself in the conversation for all kinds of things now, and Arcangelo's got to be the lead horse for 3-year-old.
For 3-year-old of the year.
Yeah.
You texted me something like she's trainer of the year. And I think that's hyperbole, but she's having an unbelievable year. And it's almost certainly in the history of horse racing, the greatest high profile year for a female trainer.
What if she wins the classic though?
That's the real question. If Arcangelo wins the classic and she does that good of a training job with him, then we're talking about a very.
But can you really say trainer of the year based off just one horse? I mean, that's
tough. I get it.
I mean, I don't know. But for me, the story of her is and just really man, I really enjoyed having her on our show just because her personality was fantastic. You know, I mean, she's great. It was good. So, but yeah, Arcangelo, I mean, looked great. I mean, what were your takeaways from that race?
I thought that was number one. That the style that he runs, especially, and it's a good point you make. They're running at the classic distance, 10 furlongs there, right?
Yep.
So he's already shown he's capable of it, both in the Belmont and then he runs it back in the Travers in a really meaningful way. And he showed that he's good when he's fresh. And so if they train him up to the classic, which I imagine they'll do, he's going to be fresh for that as well. Right? No. I agree. And I wouldn't touch it. They just announced they're shipping White Abario out west to start his training up until the classic. I think that's a good idea. And so, yeah, interested to see just the maneuvers of some of these horses. But I think that, we've seen Arcangelo at his best, frankly, and he put away that field, man.
He did.
He was the best horse in that field, and it wasn't really a question. And so, to me, he moves into the top 5 for the classic. I think no question.
All right, now let's talk though. I mean, I think it's also something where we got to talk about the rest of these horses too. Forte really didn't fire.
Correct.
Mage didn't even get out of the gate. Had trouble coming out of the gate. Tapit Trice, I don't know. It's still showing a lot of immaturity, right?
Is there any chance Tapit Trice is a very immature, eventual good 4 and 5 year old horse, or is he just quirky and immature?
I think he's going to be quirky and immature
forever, right?
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree. If Todd Pletcher can't get it out of him,
right,
there is no trainer that can get that out.
I mean, Disarm come through with that nice run to finish second there, but as much as I would love to say that it's Steve Asmussen, training him up, which I know he loves that horse at longer distances and he loves that horse with the ability to close. To me, the Arcangelo is the lead story, but the fact that the rest of this 3-year-old field just can't really keep it together is really what it comes down to.
I agree with you. I also think that we've seen something very disappointing, which is that this classic field this year is not going to be very good.
Probably not.
It is not especially deep. The top of it is not especially great. And I think it's an opportunity when we get at this point, we may learn something this Saturday. That's a real possibility. Go Rocket Ride wins the Pacific Classic and does it for fun, for example. We're having a very different conversation, I think, next week on this show than we are right now. But I'm not anticipating that. I think Defunded is legit out there. I think there are other horses in there that are real specialists over 2 turns, that are Southern California specialists that are in that race that are going to give him a lot of trouble. The horses coming out of Saratoga. How good is Rattle and Roll? We watched him run off 3 races in a row. He wins that you and I were there, that incredible Pimlico Special, right? That finish is as good a race as we've seen in person as far as the finish. And then he comes back and he loses to Stephen Foster, or he wins the Blame 2 weeks later, comes back, runs to Stephen Foster, loses by less than a length to a very good horse in West Willpower at Ellis Park. Are we going to hold Ellis Park against him? I'm not
anymore. I'm not doing that anymore with any of those because it seems like there's just some strategy there about those lower tracks. I mean, Indiana's doing it, Ellis is doing it, Turfway's doing it. Let's go for it.
No, I agree with you. And the 4th race, essentially, maybe even if you want to go back to March, the 5th race between March and then that race early July. It's a lot of races for a horse these days.
Yeah,
right. And I mean, kudos to Kenny McPeak. He's figured out that this horse was ready to fire. Shows up in that in the Blame. The Ben Ali was earlier at Keeneland, but it shows up in that Blame at Churchill Downs, runs as well as anyone. Had a ton of traffic issues in that race, was still totally fine. And so I'm interested. That's the kind of horse that can give me hope that we have a Breeders' Cup winner that's running this weekend. And I'm interested to see what he ends up doing.
I do find it very, just to go back to the Travers, we had all 3 Triple Crown winners,
right?
And we had Forte, who was, probably the most hyped horse going into the Triple Crown, and Arcangelo still put it all away.
Put him away.
Yeah,
put him away. No question.
So congratulations to Jen Antonucci, the connections there.
And I'm seeing a little bit of Forte talk and talking him down. I want to remind people that's the 2-year-old champion, won a grade 1 this year, and just won the Jim Dandy at grade 2.
Yeah,
he's that's why Arcangelo is that much better. Right. He's still a good horse.
Yeah.
The fact that Arcangelo just ran him off his feet is really it's worth remarking. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on then to the Echo Zulu's dominant performance in the ballerina. What did you think about that?
Well, it was par for the course for her. What's interesting is she didn't get her usual trip, and so she actually had to do a bunch of extra work that she usually doesn't have to do, and she still put away a very good horse. He had good horses. Right. Matarea, fine horse as well, right?
Yeah.
Frankly, talked to Brad Cox the day before, last Friday, he was really high on Matarea's chances. They had pointed to this the entire summer in the same way that they had pointed verifying in the previous race. I think right now Echo Zulu is your single on Breeders' Cup Day. She's that good right now in that race. Because I don't know who's going to catch her. She's that good.
So you don't think
for all of the things, I don't. All of the things you say about Steve Asmussen, that's his specialty, is that sprint distance.
Mm-hmm.
His very best horses are at that distance, and then there's Gunrunner, right? So I would say in this case, she's the best going in her class in the United States right now.
Yeah, I'm just, so what's happened to Goodnight Olive?
Nothing.
Yeah.
She ran into Echo Zulu.
Yeah, just Echo Zulu's a buzz saw right now.
She's just awesome right now. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no shame in that. Plus, she's that closer sprinter. That's a very precarious place to be because everyone else is ahead of you.
Right.
And you've got to make a trip every time. Now, can she win the Breeders' Cup? Of course she can.
Yeah.
Totally talented. She's going to have IRAD, all those things. But as of right now, Echo Zulu, the best sprinter in the country. I think even male or female.
Oh, so you're like even taking, because that male field's strong.
It is strong. I think she's way up there, though. I think she's incredible.
Do you see her go against the boys?
No, she doesn't need to.
Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't need to.
All right. And then we're going to move on to the Sword Dancer, the mile and a half race on the inner turf. Bolshoi Ballet.
No one in that race is finishing in the top 5 of their race in the Breeders' Cup.
So toss this race.
It does not matter for the Breeders' Cup. Congrats to the connections. Glad you made it.
750,000.
Go out there,
right there
100%, all that stuff. I'll see you in Los Angeles. Not going
to matter. Not going to factor.
Nope.
All right.
That's what I learned from that race.
All right. If you haven't noticed, we're talking a lot of Breeders' Cup stuff. And so as part of our second segment tonight of the Horse Racing 101, we wanted to just explain something that, maybe some fans are not aware of, I guess. But the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series, which is really kind of fascinating to me. It's something they did. I was shocked, actually, Lou, when I started looking at this. It's been around since 2007.
Yep.
And it's something they did basically to give a little bit of a season feel to the rest of the horse racing year.
It's good for TV, for example, right?
Yeah.
If you're NBC and you're carrying the Breeders' Cup, if they say, hey, we're going to help you get people interested in the Breeders' Cup and do those races that lead up to the Breeders' Cup, makes a lot of sense that way too.
It's also helpful because I think if we talk about it sometimes that people in Louisville are Derby fans, right. And people in like Lexington and Saratoga are horse racing fans.
Correct. San Diego, right?
Yeah, San Diego. Yep. The difference being is that there are unbelievable horses running on Derby and Oaks Day that are not in the Derby or the Oaks. And lots of people are completely oblivious to it.
Sure.
At Churchill Downs.
Right.
And so it gives you a chance maybe to kind of follow a horse's career a little bit, understand what they're doing. So in 2007,
before we do that, I want to mention our friends at Maryland Thoroughbred. And so we're getting ready, folks. It's coming up in just a couple of weeks. I can't believe it's September tomorrow. I want to invite everyone to the Maryland Million this year, October 14th, Saturday, 38th annual Jim McKay Maryland Million, showcase of the finest of Maryland's thoroughbred industry. You can visit them at marylandmillion.com. Stay updated on contenders. They have a weekly Maryland Million watch, and you can learn about sponsorship opportunities and purchase one of those ever popular club tables at Laurel Park. We'll see you at the Million. That'll be on October 14th again on that Saturday. So go check them out. It's a fun day of racing, one that we always cover on this show. It's in that sweet spot, like 2-3 weeks before Breeders' Cup, when no one's running
going off,
except for Keeneland, but those aren't even Breeders' Cup races. It's just the Keeneland races.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, it's still great racing at Keeneland.
But it's also just, they're unbelievably packed because those football Saturdays are, it's crazy. Yeah. And with sports betting now,
that's going to be great.
Yeah. In 2007, when the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series started, it started with just 24 races at 6 different racetracks in the United States and Canada. This year, they're racing in all 6 continents.
Wow. There's an African race?
There's a South African.
Beautiful. I like that.
Now, will those horses travel? Well, you'll know. But those races basically are determined. They're all kind of slotted towards the race that horse would, and basically win and you're in.
Yes.
It's not a point system. It's like if you win this race, you're gonna get your entry into the Breeders' Cup, and if you choose to take it, it's there. So,
do you think the 100-point races as Derby prep should be winning in?
They basically are. They are.
Okay. Yeah. Should the 50-point races be winning in?
Well, they basically are too.
Not this year, they weren't.
You had a horse who won a 50-point race.
We had multiple horses with 40 points, 46, 48.
But that's not 50 points.
Did we have a horse under 15 make the field? It's a good question. Okay.
No,
I guess they kind of are
yeah.
based on how the system is.
Yeah.
Which one do you like better, though? Do you like the BC system with one spot, or do you like the point system where, like, hey, go finish third?
I don't know if you'd want to like do the entire BC field that way. It just doesn't seem like it's kind of fits the Breeders' Cup mold.
Okay.
So I think which each race has works for their system. So the Derby point system for the Derby, I think, has changed the Kentucky Derby for the better. I think it's been a great addition. The Breeders' Cup, having those couple win in your ends, knowing maybe you have 3 or 4 for each race out there, that seems to be so. Like in 2022, there were I thought it told me how many races there were. There were 71 races across 13 countries last year. So, and I know this year it's even grown from there. I think there's 73 races.
Okay.
So I do like that aspect of it. So, and the one thing that I'm not a huge fan of at the Breeders' Cup really is how much, and I understand why they do it. I'm not a big fan of the Friday of the Breeders' Cup.
How they do the juvenile part of it?
Yeah. I'd rather them mix it in, I think.
Interesting. Okay. I think a lot of fans agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Stars of Tomorrow card. I understand why, especially like for television, you don't want that. But same time, I'm
the Friday Breeders' Cup doesn't do much for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a spoiled brat. Who gets to go
I agree with
things.
that. Yeah. I understand why they do it. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I don't necessarily say it bothers me. It just
doesn't do it for you.
Doesn't do it for me.
Got it.
It's not my thing. All right.
MarylandMillion.com. Go check them out. It's a fun day of racing, especially if you're any of our listeners on the East Coast. Very easy to get to Laurel Park.
Are you a Labor Day person? Are you doing anything for Labor Day weekend?
My wife, to her credit, I've had some professional things work out. She's actually taking more time off. And so she actually has a 4-day weekend. And she said, oh my gosh, we have to go do something. We have to go do this. And I said, lady,
hell no.
We have plenty to do. We're hanging out at the house. Yeah. Chill it out. Now, you want to do stuff around town? You want to go to the zoo? You want to do those things? Fine. But we don't need to. No, we're good. No.
How are you going to spend your Saturday? With little horse racing, little football?
Correct.
How's that going to work?
Yeah. So my team plays tomorrow on Friday night.
Michigan State.
They do. But I have to watch the local team. And then Louisville plays the Georgia Tech game tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll watch the Kentucky game. And then I'm good to go, man.
Yeah.
Kentucky, full disclosure, might be a condensed game instead of watching the actual live game.
I think that's definitely the way to go with that one.
Yeah, I think the 45-minute version of that game is probably better for my time than 3.5 hours or 4 hours playing Ball State.
Yeah, I can make really good notes for you.
I'm also I have you as a resource too now, which is great. So that works out for me in a really significant way.
All right, we're gonna go out to Saratoga. We're gonna talk about one race out Saratoga. I know this is one that you love every year, the $1 Million Jockey Club Gold Cup.
I do love this race. You're right.
So,
boy, you should ask me who won last year.
I should ask you who won last year. Hey, Louis, who won this last year?
Olympiad?
I'd have to pull it up, so I don't have that kind
of. I'm gonna guess Olympiad, man.
Okay, I'll pull it up while you talk about
that horse. I've never felt worse for a horse in my life as far as their accomplishments than Olympiad because he ran the same year as Flightline.
Okay, I think that's fair. As good as the Breeders' Cup Classic was last year,
yes,
it's going to be the exact opposite this year.
He ran second in that race after just an incredible spring. Like he had the totality of a horse of the year type year, and Flightline happened to exist the same year. It's just the worst line.
Flightline is a beast.
Yeah, that's the issue.
All right, so are you singling Rattle and Roll in this race?
I'm not. I do think he's the best horse in this race as far as horses we've seen this year. 2 turns older, dirt, and being Olympiad won it last year. How about that? That he's the most consistent. I'm not going to hold that. That last race you and I were talking off air about this. That's Stephen Foster. He loses to West Willpower, who I'm surprised, by the way, not to see either in this field or out west of the Pacific Classic. I thought that the Wests would get him into a race and try to get him to qualify for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Simply, they must be doing something different with him, which is fine. I just think Rattle and Roll, wildly consistent. Did win that Pimlico Special we talked about, comes back, wins after 2 weeks later. I think he's absolutely on top here as far as class. Agree with Morning Line Maker up there, David Aragon, on that one. Proxy's a horse that made me look really smart when he came back and he won the Clark last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the Clark. And I remember we talked about it because he was coming off a layoff. from July. He had run in the Foster, and then they didn't run him. He brought him back in the Clark, and I said, no, I kind of like the layoff for him. And then he burst out of a cannon. He was great that day. To me, Proxy is the class of being 5 and multiple years of good races and winning those kinds of races. I think he's got a serious shot to win the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Proxy does.
Yes.
Okay.
In this year's group, in this year's, corral of horses that are going to qualify for the Breeders' Cup Classic. I also think he's got a really serious shot on Saturday. Really, really serious. So I would look at him as well. But I would look to the 6 horse here, Tyson. If you want good freaking luck figuring out if this horse is going to win, coming off the synthetic in Canada, never run without Lasix, but just doesn't lose races.
Well, has he been accused of sexual assault yet? Because after Tyson was accused of sexual assault, I don't think he ever won again.
Oh, it's no,
not on there. Okay,
not on the sheet. I looked though.
All right,
took my time. Yeah,
well, you talk about the guy,
but a son of Tappet.
Actually, once he lost to Buster Douglas, it was over. It was over. Yeah,
son of Tappet. And so all of the things are there. He was originally trained by Todd Pletcher, broke his maiden at Gulfstream going 2 turns on the synthetic. He's been running on the synthetic his whole life, but we've seen horses jump off the synthetic, including his barnmate Duke of Love, who's in this race, in the 7 hole for this one under Louis Contreras, won last time in the West Virginia Governors in the grade 3. So he gets on dirt for the first time and he wins. Can Josie Carroll train Tyson to do that? That's the horse that I'm going to be watching on Saturday. You get Manny Franco. Really interested to see. I think he's more of a hit the board candidate, but I would go 4-1-6 here in the Gold Cup.
All right, putting some money. But speaking of stuff and money in people's pockets, can we talk a little bit about? And I didn't put it up on the screen like you asked me to. I failed you once again.
Yeah, this is really a crappy episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
No problem. Let's talk a little bit about the gold sheet. And today was the
Gold
launch,
book. Yep.
The gold book. Yeah. Today was the launch of the gold book, and it was a good launch.
The day's happening. So Kevin Kilroy, friend of the show, is helping me out with this. He and I are doing the horse side of things. Our friend Mark Ennis is doing a lot of the football side. You're hanging out with us on some of the SEC stuff, especially.
Yep.
League that you follow very closely as part of your UK post-game shows with our local ESPN affiliate here. And we wanted to be first to market in a place like Kentucky that's just getting getting sports wagering.
Yep.
On top of the tradition of horse wagering that we have in this state. And so Thursday through Sunday, 4 days a week, we'll have a sheet, traditional prices, nice and cheap. Our top picks at the biggest tracks in the country. Today we did Saratoga, Del Mar, and Kentucky Downs.
Did you give out 2 pick 3s today?
I gave out 2 trifectas today, okay. Straight up in the sheet. And then Kevin did the second half of the card there. He did Saratoga, I did Del Mar. And
he gave up a 50.
Hang on.
Oh.
Kevin's top play at Saratoga won.
All right.
And then in the stakes, he gave out the horse that paid $57.
Holy cow.
So we had a good day first day. If any of the football stuff comes back tonight at all, we'll have had an incredibly profitable day.
All right. So how does
goldbookbets.com.
Goldbookbets.com.
Goldbookbets.com. The easiest way to support what we do on the podcast, to help us out with costs, to get us, more involved with things, is goldbookbets.com. $5 a day. We're going to have subscriptions soon for entire months at a time. I mean, dozens of football games, tons of tracks. I think for about $20 a month.
So on Saturday, people are going to be watching football, watching horse racing.
Yep, you can get both from us.
And one sheet.
One sheet for $5.
It's going to have your pick 6 for this upcoming
for Del Mar.
For Del Mar that we're going to talk about here right now.
Mandatory payout on Pacific Classic.
The Del Mar pick 6 starts with race 6 in the Allianz optional claiming race, but we're going to only talk about the stakes races, which starts with the grade 2.
That would be the only race that you're going to have to definitely get it for. But yes,
the grade.
We'll have some comments on other stuff too.
The grade 2 Del Mar mile, $300,000 race, 1 mile on the turf at the where the surf meets the turf. Who was your pick in this one, Louis?
Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby.
You said surf meets. Sorry.
That's his song. Yes, yeah. But there's just Bing Crosby stakes. Now that's where I got a little. I was like, I'm not talking about the Bing
Wait a minute, the Chosen Brawn isn't in here.
Yeah.
Look, I'm interested here. I think the funded is. Excuse me. We're in the Del Mar mile.
Del Mar mile.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The 4 horse is Exalted.
Yes.
Later we'll talk about the fun of the 4 horse. Exalted's in here, man. 4 straight wins, all of them at a mile. All of them at Santa Anita. So if you wanted to knock the horse, you would say, hey, he's never run at Del Mar. I have good news for everybody. His jockey and trainer have won 5 of their last 8 at Del Mar. And Juan Hernandez cannot miss at the track right now. He's been on this horse for all 4 of those wins in a row. Allowance, optional claimer, grade 3, grade 1, wins the Shoemaker Mile. That is a legit, probably, boy, I want to be careful. That might be the most grade 1 of grade 1 races on the West Coast.
Okay.
I think it's that good. I think turf racing on the West Coast is better than the dirt racing is, as far as older horses especially. And so I think that Shoemaker Mile win is a big one. He wins it over Irideo, who's in this field. People are going to sleep on Irideo, and they need not to. Tiago Pereira's got the mount there. It's just lesser known connections here, and that's why you're going to get a 10-1 type price on that horse. I don't think he beats Exalted in this race, but look for the 10 Irideo to hit the board. If you need to play show bet kind of thing, if you're playing, by the way, the place all bet at Del Mar that day, I would absolutely include Irideo in it because you can hit this race multiple times then, which would be really great.
You're not a Volnikov fan?
I'm not in this case. I do think Du Jour, Bob Baffert's one turf horse in the world, owned by his wife, is under Flavien Prat here. One last time under Juan Hernandez, who's going to Exalted very understandably. But Du Jour ran one of the great races you and I have ever been in person for here at Churchill Downs. She won the American Turf on Derby Day in 2021.
Okay.
And he did. And that was an all-time great performance on the turf here at Churchill Downs. A little bit of bias, me including that horse in my picks. I went 4-1-10 in the Del Mar Mile.
Volnikov came in second in that race the next year, and that's remember watching him in that. So
very fine horse. Yep, that's what I'm saying. I think for older horses, especially in the West Coast, the turf racing is considerably better than the dirt racing.
All right, we're gonna move on to the Phil Milkinson Stakes, the Torrey Pines.
There's $800 million in bets here.
No, $150,000 purse.
Oh, God, okay.
For a stakes race. Kentucky Downs just laughed at that. Mile on the dirt.
They had a $250,000 allowance today, and by a $250,000 allowance, I mean they had 2 of them. The takeout rates are 8% lower.
Draft starts in 23 seconds. Here we go. All right. I got the 5th pick, by the way. But
there you go. How about that?
Yeah. It's like a 14-team deal. Like you start getting down to like the 3rd string running backs and stuff like that. This thing. Okay.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta know what you're talking about. All right. Do we have a single in this race? Because I think we could.
No, I'm gonna try to beat Feza here.
You're gonna beat Feza.
I think she's beatable.
There it is.
You nerds. And it takes one to know one. I get it. Ceiling Crusher coming second off the layoff here. I think is an absolute must play here. Edwin Maldonado, Doug O'Neill Barn. Last time going 2 turns, ran a 92 buyer. Guess who's never done that? Feza. Before that, she ran a 94. Guess who's never done that before? Feza. So look, this is a horse fully capable of winning this race. Has been favored in every race she's ever run. Daughter of Mr. Big, which is that classic California breeding out there. I think she's got a legitimate shot here. Gets back to the 2 turns. Don't love that Juan Hernandez is jumping off, but do trust Edwin Maldonado here. I think the last race at 7 furlongs was purely just to get her back in shape for this run. I think they've been pointing to the Torrey Pines all year, and so I think she'll run a big race here. I do think you include Feza here, the 9, because it's Baffert and it's Del Mar and it's 2 turns, and that's the kind of race that his horses will pick off as well. I went inside to the 1 horse for the last pick here was Justique, because if you look at the pace scenario for this race, I do think you've got a bunch of horses who either want the lead or want to press. Justique is able to pick up the pieces if this thing falls apart at the front. If Feza gets going way too fast and drags other horses with her, I think you could see a horse like Justique under a very mature ride from a guy like Mike Smith, who did exactly the same thing on Go Rocket Ride in the Haskell that all of us watched. I think you could get that from that horse. I'm not going to bank on it, though. I think your winner comes from the outside. The only thing, if you wanted to knock them, is because of the layout of Del Mar, you start at the finish line, you end at the finish line. You are essentially in the first turn as soon as that race starts, and they're on the outside. If you wanted a reason to go against them, that would be it, but I'm going to stick with them anyway, 10-9 in this race.
Okay, then we're going to move on to the Green Flash Handicap, another $150,000 race, 5 furlongs on the turf. This field, to me, seems like it's wide open.
Yes, I agree with you on that. And generally speaking, in these turf sprints, man, if you can get like a Caravelle or something like that, you feel a lot better about it. Or maybe how about this? A Nobody Listens. Not in this field. But I would say in this field, I went to a couple of different spots. I think you can get a price here, 5-6-1, that kind of thing. Went to the 8 on top here. Motorious, Umberto Rispoli. I'll be really honest. I don't know if he's going to be back on his feet by Saturday.
Oh man,
they had to cart him off today. It was not a good scene at
These
Del
guys are
Mar
tougher than
race
nails,
one.
though,
I don't
man.
know how they do it. I really don't understand it at all. But if he's on there, this horse lost to No Balls last time at Churchill in the turf sprint, won the Sam Simeon before that. I think is going to come back and run a huge race. Has been training really, really well on the turf course. So I've been able to train on the turf course with this horse. I think that this 5-year-old gelding's really ready to go. I would lean there. I think the most consistent speed in the race, more of a mid-pack and then close kind of sprinter. And we have a ton of early speed here. So I'm actually going to lean on a horse that has to make his own race in this case, especially if Humberto's okay and can go on Saturday. If he can't, boy, we'll talk about something different. But I hope he's okay. Humberto, feel better, man. We've had him on the show before, and he's really a good guy. Turn on the Jets is a 3-horse here. I'm going on recency and on just overall speed in his last race at 5 furlongs. And he did it at Del Mar. He's 3 for 3 at Del Mar. So I'm kind of going horse for course here. I think that's one that we can lean on here. Hector Barrios in the mount here. Sneaky 15% at Del Mar. And when you're at a place with bigger fields, and you get the mounts that he does, 15% is really good.
Really good.
He's riding for Phil D'Amato here. 2 of them. He get 32% at Del Mar. I love that 6-1 price. Now that I'm thinking about it, that horse just hasn't really run in graded stakes. Has won a listed stakes before. Last 3 out, essentially went first and then ran 4th, but by 1 length. Comes back, wins last time out. Is going to be part of the equation at the end. Is essentially what I'm getting at. And then I went to the 6-horse here. That's Lane Way. Mike Smith again, Richard Mandela. Won last time out. Last 3 races, a win, a loss by less than 2 lengths, and then a win again. And I just think, and then a second again. This horse is always right there in turf sprints. Mike, I try to do that where, let's be honest, like we're just trying to have a chance at the end of the race.
Yeah.
Those 3 horses, I think, give you a chance. But I also agree with your sentiment coming into this. Grab as many as you can, to build your ticket if you're going longer, especially part of that pick 6.
So Scott Issel all button, maybe. So here we go.
Woo, and a pick 6 that starts to catch up.
All right. The FanDuel Grade 1 FanDuel Racing Pacific Classic, the star of the weekend.
It is, I agree.
Go Rocket Ride here, and we already know that Stiletto Boy, Tripoli to fund it. I mean, this is a slow down Andy. This is a great field. Arabian Nights in this race. Where did you land on this one?
Last year, this is actually when we met John Lindo, and one of the things we talked about with him as far as West Coast racing and which races are the most important, he talked about Big Cap Day at Santa Anita, right? Remember they used to say, that's the big race. Pacific Classic has not only gone past Big Cap, it is miles ahead, way past. Yeah. And so
$1 million race, the handicap's a $300,000 race. Let's just put it that way. So
let's call it what it is, right?
Yeah.
Big Cap Day is not what it used to be. The Pacific Classic is everything that you want it to be. I think defunded on top for me here. 5-horse, Bob Baffert, Juan Hernandez, the 2 of them. Not a small sample size, 72 runs at Del Mar, 33% winning percentage. That is not to be sneezed at. Everything about this sets up well for him. Essentially second off the layoff, coming out of that San Diego handicap. Won by Senor Buscador, second to slow down Andy, who we'll talk about in a second here. He finished 4th by 3.5 lengths. It's not like he was run off the field here. Mile and a 16th. I think he's going to like a little bit of added distance here. He's never missed the board going 1.25 miles. I think that matters. I think that experience really does matter. Interested to see him here. I think he's the most likely winner of the Pacific Classic. I did go inside to the 1 Go Rocket Ride. Shot out of a cannon. Horrible pun intended. Dad joke. Go ahead and drink. This is one of those horses, Mike. If he shows up this weekend, I think we're talking about the Pacific Classic in a very different way. Excuse me, the Breeders' Cup Classic in a very different way. And on top of that, we're also talking about who the real 3-year-old of the year is.
Yeah.
Because if you can win the Haskell and then the freaking Pacific Classic against older horses, what we did last year as Eclipse voters, and we did wrong, is we did not give it to Modern Games as a 3-year-old winner. He had beaten older horses in Group 1 and in Grade 1s multiple times. We didn't give him that award last year. If Go Rocket Ride wins the Pacific Classic and shows up at all in the Breeders' Cup Classic, I would put him ahead of Arcangelo in the 3-year-old class.
I think that's fair.
Okay. So I'm going to include him because I think he's got a legit shot here. The 7 horses in here. That is our guy, Slow Down Andy. Last time Kevin was on, we did this. We did the Del Mar handicap, San Diego handicap, excuse me. And he was like, I think Senor Buscador is going to win that race. And I'm like, yeah, sure, buddy. And he does.
Yep.
And then I was like, I think Slow Down Andy's going to win that race. Run second. That was not a terrible exacta to have, by the way. Interested to see slow down Andy here. It is so hard for me, even after years and years of looking at his horses, to figure out Doug O'Neill and what his intentions are. Mike, they ran this horse in a grade 1 in the in a grade 2 in the Del Mar Derby on turf, and he wins. And he's run one time ever on turf, and they've never put him back. It's Doug O'Neill, man.
Yep.
Just good luck. Just good luck. And so the horse does everything. Derbies. This is a horse, by the way, ran second last time, was not great in the Met Mile behind Cody's Wish. I'm not mad at him about that. Again, if you draw a line through that, by the way, his results are second in the San Diego Handicap grade 2, third in the Breeders' Cup Mile behind Cody's Wish by less than 2 lengths. That guy finished within 2 lengths of Cody's Wish in the Breeders' Cup. That's awesome, right? Before that, runs in the Awesome again, a grade 1 against older horses, finishes third by less than 3 lengths. Before that, wins in the Del Mar Derby. This guy's going to hit the board. That's what he does. He picks up checks. He's made almost $1 million. He's going to go over $1 million in this race as a 4-year-old son of Nyquist. We're seeing those progeny come out really, really well. I think he's absolutely going to be part of the equation here. So I would use those 3 horses here, 5, 1, and 7. All
right, we're moving on to the big cap. Like we talked about, the Del Mar Handicap, $300,000 race, mile and 3/8 on the turf. Going to be going off at 9:45 at night Eastern time. So, check it out before the.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's the best.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right.
I think you asked earlier, do we have a single in this race? I think my single might be here.
Okay.
Which is interesting because I was looking at these races. I really agree. I'm with you. I thought I'd see FaZe's name and go, yeah, we're good.
Gold Phoenix?
It is Gold Phoenix.
All right, good.
Yeah. And I think you get that Juan Hernandez.
That's a 3-1 single, by the way. I mean, that's in a
race with a bunch of 7-2s and 4-1s.
Gold Phoenix is just killer in California.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's right. And this is a horse 2 for 3 at Del Mar, lifetime, 1 for 1 at the distance. Hector Barrios on last time. We get Juan Hernandez in the saddle now. I think that's a massive upgrade. Last time they ran together was in the John Henry. That was at Santa Anita. They lost by a neck to Master of Foxhounds, who was at the time a very, very good California grass horse as well. The stretch out in distance here, Gold Phoenix has actually done it. A lot of the horses in this race have either not done it or they've been bad at it. So it's kind of the in between. You do get 911 Turbo, which is a Porsche joke, Mike.
I know.
The reason that's a joke is because you and I are dads, and like the 9 and like you fitting in a 911 would be very funny.
Yeah, I've gotten in a Prius before.
Did you just compare a 911 Turbo to a Prius?
Space wise.
And so that's one of those. But I would lean really hard on that. I do think the 9 here, Planetario, who we saw at Monmouth in the United Nations, didn't love the distance in that one. So I'm a little worried about that, but got a good ride under Mike Smith. Did finish within a couple of lengths of Therapist and Catnip, who are both running really well this summer. I think could jump up here. Was better on the West Coast before the horse shipped east. Won the San Juan Capistrano grade 3 before that. So the horse has been right there in these races. Interested to see if he comes back and does well. With that, then the 6 horse was another one that I would include here in Awfully Naughty, which is not a good name for this show. Should not change our name to Awfully Naughty.
I would agree.
Okay. Under Umberto Rispoli. And again, part of this is if Umberto's available on Saturday, and I pray to God he is. Him and Mike McCarthy, a very fine combination at 24% overall. The horse's speed figures are not going to blow you away, but this is the horse that won the San Luis Rey at 1.5 miles. And then before that, won a race at 1.25 miles. So this is a distance horse on the grass, right? And when you get Umberto and you get this kind of setup, I think he's absolutely got a shot here. 10-9 at 6 here in the handicap.
I'm taking Win the Day on a play show bet.
Yeah,
I think that's a 50.
One of your mantras, eh?
It's a 50% or 50-1 on that.
Let's go.
I love that.
Doug O'Neill.
There's your Doug O'Neill. So why not?
Jack.
4th start ever on 5th start on turf. So
there you go.
Let's go for it. Win the Day back, going into that Derby season last year was considered to be up there, and then he just kind of fell apart. So
we're gonna wrap up this one, but I wanted to tell people we'll have a longer episode out tomorrow. Kevin Kilroy will join us. He'll talk Jockey Gold Club.
Yeah, you got
tomorrow.
A radio show coming on
11:20 tomorrow. We're gonna have John Lindo from Thoroughbred LA.
Yep,
we love John.
You say we,
and then what's that?
You said we, but you mean you.
I'm with Dan.
Oh, Dan. Okay,
it's we.
Yeah,
and it's not Avery's there.
It's not we.
You're not part of the royal we.
No.
Hey, step on. And then we'll have Caitlin Bernard is going to join us. I've never even. I mean, I've met her and talked to her, but I've never gotten to do handicapping with her. I'm very excited, actually. I think she's one of the best people that works with the FanDuel TVG folks. I think she's great. Excited to talk to her. We'll have her to close the show tomorrow. So you'll have all three of those in a single episode tomorrow as well. Showcasing the 3 big tracks for Saturday. And again, goldbookbets.com. Go in, find our picks, listen to the show tomorrow. I think you'll have a lot of info.
All right. So, I got my first pick in.
Okay. Who'd you get?
So again, deeper draft, right? And
okay.
This is
keeper at all?
It's a keeper and
okay.
It's a 2 keeper,
oh.
actually. And I missed the keeper deadline. So I did not make my keeper selections. And so I ended up doing something that you normally don't do, but I got Patrick Mahomes. I drafted a quarterback in the first round. So
I think drafting the running back first is overrated.
Right now it is, because running backs are like, you don't know who's going to get it. And I'd almost rather go receiver, but Mahomes is going to be good for 30, 40 points. Correct. And there's a big
he's going to run a little bit.
There's a big drop off between him and Josh Allen and everybody else. So I went a little bit against the grain and did that. I know you used to play fantasy football. You're not a fantasy football guy really anymore.
It's been about a decade. Yeah. We
got a little. You've been on my street, my cul-de-sac.
I have.
And
you've almost killed one of my children there.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Do you remember that time you made me homeless, and then the other time you almost killed one of my kids?
You still talking?
I'm forgiving
the dads. The dads decided to do a league this year, and so we drafted on Sunday night, which is a little early for me, but they still wanted to draft Sunday night. Guy just moved on the street. Loves CJ. Good dude. Moved here from Montana. Doesn't really follow football. Has never played fantasy football before. Drafted 4 tight ends. So go CJ. Oh, I'm not going to draft 4 tight ends. I don't know what else is going to throw. So, anyway, if anyone cares about,
you got your Giants hat on.
No,
your Giants. You have your Giants hat on.
This is a 49ers hat.
Or 49ers. God.
Yes, the 49ers, right? I'm definitely not cheering for the Giants right
now. My
head
is still in baseball. I apologize.
My head's still.
I have 0 minutes. They're playing big boy college football right now, so I need to change my mentality.
We got yeah. And the Reds are off today, so we're not really worried.
Well, there you go. How about that?
Yeah,
that's good timing.
Yeah. Big series for the Reds against the Cubs. They got 4 games coming up against the Cubs. 2 tomorrow. Yeah. So they got to get 3 of those games.
Yep. No question.
All right. Everyone have a great weekend.
Yeah,
enjoy your Labor Day. Be safe, and we will talk to you all next week. Take care.
Horse Racing Happy Hour. Music.
I think
music.
We're just gonna play the same music. Oh, I got the volume down.
All the way down. Let's play.
Life is good.
Life is good.